Hello, Oilers fans. Austin here. Don't be alarmed. I do look much, much different, but I did shave. I got a haircut. The season is over. We are full on off season mode now. And, going to try and enjoy the summer as much as we can. The pain of losing in game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, second time since 2006, that pain is going to last a lifetime. But the Oilers, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a quick turnaround here heading into the offseason. We have the draft coming up this Friday, and then we have free agency just a couple days after the NHL draft. Now, I know the draft is before free agency, but I did want to take a little look at the Oilers free agent situation, take a look at their cap space, see what holes they need to fill, see who might come back on sweetheart deals, see the players likely to leave. There's going to be a lot of turnover on this roster. This roster is going to look much, much different heading into the 24-25 season. And while I continue to work on a draft video, there should be one up by Friday morning at the absolute latest. It's going to be a pretty in-depth draft video. I'm very excited about that, so keep an eye out for that. And also, friendly reminder, I will be live streaming the NHL draft on Friday night. The first round, that is. I won't be live streaming rounds 2 through 7. I'm only going to live stream that first round. I know the Oilers don't have a draft pick themselves in the first round. They traded it away in the Henrik and Sam Carrick deal, but I do enjoy the draft. I enjoy looking at the prospects. I enjoy talking about prospects. I'm trying to catch up on the prospect situation in hockey. I'm usually pretty in tune with all this stuff, but because of the Oilers playoff run, YouTube content, I kind of fell behind, so I'm trying to do my own scouting reports, progress reports, that sort of thing. I'm very excited. I'm excited to talk about the free agent situation for the Oilers as well. Like I said, this team is going to look much, much different, and quick turnaround heading into 24-25. It is June 26th. Training camp's going to open in 2 months from now, which is pretty wild to think about. If you like these videos and you want to see more off-season content, just make sure you hit that like button. And if you're not yet subscribed and you end up really enjoying the video today, make sure you subscribe. The support goes a long way. I truly appreciate it. Now, let's discuss the Oilers' free agent situation. Who's going to be off the roster? Who's coming back? And I made a little depth chart. Now, this is the NHL Depth Chart. Obviously, the Oilers are going to have some players in the minors that could be ready to step up. Raphael Lavoie, he's probably very, very close to being able to step in and provide minutes for this team. He was called up briefly last season. He didn't play a whole lot, though, and then he was sent back down, I think, before Chris Knoblauch was even hired. I think Woodcroft had him up for like 3 games, and then they sent him back down. He was getting like 3 minutes a night. Not really an opportunity, in my opinion. But if you take a look at this, the little charts that I've made here. If you need to pause the video just to kind of get an idea and write things down, you totally can. On the left side of the screen, I have our pending UFAs. So these are unrestricted free agents for the Oilers. These are players that can be signed by anybody. And then I have on the main screen, the NHL depth chart. Beside Dylan Holloway, I have RFA. Beside Philip Broberg, I have RFA. That means that their status heading into the offseason is restricted free agent. Now, the Oilers, that means they retain the rights to these players. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't sign an offer sheet from someone else. If they did, the Oilers would get compensation from whatever team tried to sign these players. I don't foresee an offer sheet coming towards Broberg or Holloway, but you never know. Sometimes general managers like to be really interesting with this kind of stuff. Obviously, famously, in terms of the Oilers with RFAs, offer sheets, Thomas Vanek, Kevin Lowe offered Thomas Vanek an offer sheet from Buffalo. Buffalo matched it, and then he went after Dustin Penner on the Anaheim Ducks. And then Brian Burke, he did not match that offer, and then he famously challenged Kevin Lowe to a fight behind a barn, which is just hysterical to think about. 2007 was a wild time. So let's take a look at the pending UFAs for the Edmonton Oilers. You have Connor Brown, Sam Carrick, Warren Foegele, Sam Gagner, Adam Henrik, Matthias Janmark, Corey Perry, Vinnie De Hara, Troy Stecher, and Calvin Pickard. Now, out of those players, I'm not sure who the Oilers are going to bring back. I think Warren Foegele is gone. 20 goal scorer in a UFA year. Contract year, I think he's going to go onto the open market. He's going to be able to sign. He'll probably make $3 or $4 million a year on the open market, and that'll be good for Warren Foegele. He played well in the Stanley Cup Finals. He was pretty cold throughout most of the playoffs, though. Other than that, now the Oilers, they only have $10.03 million in cap space, and they have, looks like 5 holes to fill on the NHL roster, plus signing 2 RFAs. Their cap situation does not look great. I would imagine there might be a couple moves to try and free up some cap space. You might be able to see Brett Kulak get moved for cap space. They might try and move Evander Kane. I know Evander Kane has a no-move clause, and I know he's very happy in Edmonton, but who knows how these things play out. Players, they do waive their no-move clauses all the time for trades. It's tough to say what happens here. I don't think Darnell Nurse is a realistic trade option to free up cap space. I just can't see him wanting to leave the town, leave the city, leave this team that was one win away from winning a Stanley Cup, especially with his best friend in Connor McDavid. But when we look at the pending UFAs, realistic re-sign options here. Of course, Connor Brown coming back would be great. There was a lot of discourse around Connor Brown during last season. I famously wanted him healthy scratched regularly, but the Oilers' penalty kill was truly historic, and Connor Brown played his best hockey in the playoffs, and there's a lot of value in that. He is owed, I think, about $3.25 million against the cap this season, based on his signing bonus from the contract he signed last summer with the Oilers. So that means you might be able to sign him to like a $1 million contract for this season and then have a total cap hit of $4.25 million for Connor Brown. I could see Connor Brown signing, 1 year, $1 million, or 2 years, $2 million, like however that would end up looking. I would like to see the Oilers try and bring Connor Brown back. He does have speed, very good on the penalty kill, and he was really finding his game. And for the Edmonton Oilers, that bottom six was pretty old. They had a lot of older, aging vets, pretty slow. I would like to see the Oilers try and focus on getting some speed back in the lineup, some younger players back in the lineup. And Connor Brown, he fits that bill perfectly in terms of the speed aspect. Yes, he's a vet. He's been around. I think he's almost 30 now. But Connor Brown, I'd like to see him come back. Then Sam Carrick. I don't think Sam Carrick is coming back at all. I can't see the Oilers wanting to re-sign him. He gave the team quality minutes. He was okay on the penalty kill. He could win faceoffs. He has that bit of edge to him, a bit of a nasty side. He'll fight if he has to. I think Sam Carrick is a good player, but I just don't think he moves the needle for the Edmonton Oilers. He's probably gone. I already mentioned Warren Foegele. He's probably gone. Sam Gagner, I can't see the team re-signing him as a player, but I could see the team trying to sign him as some kind of coach, some kind of player personnel, player development type mentor for the organization. Sam Gagner, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He bleeds copper and blue, and I hope Sam Gagner stays with the organization in some capacity. But if he gets an offer from someone else, if he's looking to play minutes, obviously he didn't find a lot of time on the ice for the Oilers. He didn't even get to see one single playoff game. And if there's a team out there that thinks that he's worth something and that they can play him 30, 40, 50 games in a season, I would be happy for Gagner to go sign somewhere and play, keep making a little bit of money at the tail end of his career. I love Sam Gagner. I just don't see him coming back as a player for the Oilers. Adam Henrik now, that is an interesting one. Adam Henrik, I would love for Edmonton to try and bring back. That third line center role would be perfect for him. But when you look at his stats, he had over 24 goals this season in the regular season. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure what his salary cap would look like. He's coming off of a deal where he was making $5.825 million per year. And when you look at his stats with the Oilers, he had 6 goals in 22 games. He had 4 goals and 7 points in the playoffs. Now, I think Adam Henrik played well, and I think he deserves to come back, depending on what the money situation is. Can you sign an Adam Henrik for less than $4 million a year? Can you get him at about $2.5, $3 million a year for like 1 year? Would he sign a sweetheart of a deal to try and win a Stanley Cup with Connor McDavid? That's a big question mark. I hope that they find a way to sign him. He's one of the more slow and aging vets that I'd like to see the Oilers try and bring back. I think he really solidifies that third line center position really, really well. But again, the market will dictate if Edmonton can afford to bring him back. If you can get him for under $4 million, if you can get him for like $3.25 million, I would definitely try and make a run at that and try and free up cap space in other areas of the roster to make other signings. But we'll end up seeing what they do with Henrik. Matthias Janmark, that is another player I would be super happy if they brought back. If you had Janmark on the left wing and Adam Henrik on the right wing or in center and then Connor Brown on right wing, if they were able to bring back all three of those players, Janmark, Henrik, and Brown, for the third line, that is a terrific third line. I would have no problems with that. Again, it depends what the asking price, the cost of those players. Matthias Janmark, I could see him getting about $1.5 million a year on the open market. I think that's within the Oilers' budget. I think they're going to want to try and bring him back. I think he found a really good role on the team after a slow start to the season. He had some ups and downs, but again, he showed his value in the playoffs. And, if you're looking at a team with the theme of retribution, trying to come back and win a Stanley Cup after losing it, Matthias Janmark would be a great player. I think he's someone that fits in really well with this lineup, fits in well on the special teams. I'd like to see them bring Janmark back, and he's fast. And he had a couple fights this year. So, you know what? That's an added bonus. Now, when we look at Corey Perry, absolutely not. Corey Perry, I think, is done with the team. He might be done as a player. He might retire. Corey Perry, terrific career. He just doesn't have the foot speed anymore. He's silky smooth with his hands, and he thinks the game so well. He puts himself in optimal positions, but we saw him get exposed a little bit in the postseason, even a little bit in the regular season too. He did produce a little bit for the Oilers. He had a good start with the team, but it seemed like as the season progressed, wear and tear, the aging factor, father time, it is not kind to NHL players or athletes in general. Corey Perry, thank you for your service, my friend. Maybe you can stay with the organization in some kind of mentorship capacity as well. But as a player, I don't think the Oilers are bringing him back. Now, the next player I want to talk about is Vinnie De Hara, and this is a tough one because I'd like to see the Oilers bring De Hara back. He gave the team real quality minutes all season long. He really forged that third defensive pair, right D, penalty kill role this season. And there's a lot of teams that are going to value him on the open market. I could see him getting $1.5 to $2 million per season, depending where he signs, maybe even $2.5 million per season as well, depending on the term of the contract. Earlier in the year, I thought if the Oilers could sign him for about $1.5 million a year, $2 million a year max for like 2 or 3 years, I would do that deal. But it sounds like Vinnie De Hara wanted a long-term deal at like $2.5 million per, like 5-6 year type long-term deal. I'm not sure if that's the route that you want to go with a Vinnie De Hara. I do like him. I like his style of play. I like him on the penalty kill. I like his reach. I think he's a good defenseman. Again, if you look at the Oilers' defensive depth chart here, would I prefer him in over Cody Ceci? Would I prefer the Oilers trade Ceci and then sign De Hara and put him in with Kulak? Yes, I would. I would actually prefer that a lot. But optimally, I think Philip Broberg would probably be better suited to start the year on the third defensive pair. I think he was a little bit out of his element in the Cup Finals. He did play well, but if you look at the advanced metrics for Nurse and Broberg in the Cup Finals, it was not pretty. I think Philip Broberg, he's NHL ready. I don't think he's second pair NHL ready. So for Vinnie De Hara, and depending on the situation with Cody Ceci, I could see the Oilers trying to bring him back. Homegrown talent. But again, market dictates it. If he finds the bag somewhere else, he truly deserves it. If that's it for De Hara, I've loved seeing him grow as an Oiler. I've loved seeing him develop, a late bloomer. Love his style of play. If Edmonton can find a way to re-sign him, though, I would not be complaining. Next defenseman to talk about is Troy Stecher. I don't think the Oilers are going to be bringing him back at all. He barely got into the lineup for the team when he was with the team after the trade deadline. And then, of course, he had ankle surgery, didn't play a single game in the playoffs. I can't see them bringing Troy Stecher back. I think Stecher is more than likely gone here. And then the last player that's a pending UFA on the current NHL roster, it's Calvin Pickard. Will the Oilers re-sign Pickard and try and put him back with Stuart Skinner? Will they run that tandem back? I'm not sure. I think Calvin Pickard deserves to be re-signed, but I think the Oilers as an organization and for the fans, I think they deserve an option that moves the needle a little bit more than a Calvin Pickard, someone that can play 50-50 minutes with Stuart Skinner. Calvin Pickard is good for 20-25 games a year, probably max. He is a journeyman. He's getting a little older, and that's not to disrespect Calvin Pickard. I like him a lot. I love Calvin Pickard. I love what he brought to the team. He helped the Oilers immensely in their win against the Vancouver Canucks in the second round, but for Calvin Pickard, I just think the team needs a stronger option, an option that can play 35-40 games with Stuart Skinner. Optimally, you play 2 goalies for 41 games each. Figure out who you think is going to be your best option in the playoffs. If one of them starts to falter in the playoffs, you have a secondary option that you can go to no matter what. That's not to say Skinner doesn't deserve the starting position. I think he does. He played more than good enough in the postseason, in my opinion. He had some stinkers. Of course, early in every series, he seemed to play poorly, but the later series went, he truly did show a ton of value. What was he? 11-1 in games 4-7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year with like a .935 save percentage. Like, that's unbelievable to me. Stuart Skinner, He'll be heading into his third NHL season. More growth from him. I truly think that there's going to be a chip on his shoulder with the rest of the main core on the team. I think Skinner's going to have a terrific year. I think he's going to bounce back and be even better in the playoffs next season. But for Calvin Pickard, I'd like to bring him back, but I truly do want the Oilers to find a option that can play more games and help Skinner out. I think Stuart Skinner, he plays a ton of minutes. I would like to see a 41 game split, or like a goaltender that can play like 33, 34, 35 games. Skinner can handle the other 45. We'll see what happens there. I don't think the team should bring back Calvin Pickard, but would I be mad if they did? Absolutely not. I do like Calvin Pickard. Now, when we look at the actual holes on the main roster here, so first line, Nuge, McDavid, Hyman, that's probably set in stone for next season. Second line, Kane, Draisaitl, Holloway, assuming Kane does not get moved, or assuming he doesn't waive his no move clause. Dylan Holloway, the coaching staff, they put a lot of faith in him in the playoffs. He's on the verge of breaking out into an offensive talent that I think the team foresaw when they drafted him. I think a top 6 position is probably a lock for Dylan Holloway, whether it's on the left wing or right wing. Dylan Holloway as an RFA, because he hasn't produced a lot at the NHL level, I can't see him signing for a whole lot of money, probably $1 million a year for like 1 year or something. I'm not sure how they're going to look at a Dylan Holloway deal. Obviously, optimally with an RFA, you want to get as many years in as possible at a very low cap hit. So we'll see what happens. And then third line, there's 3 blanks. So there's 5 forwards in the bottom 6 that they need to fill. With $10 million in cap space, it's difficult to do, but it's not impossible. Of course, there's different moves that they can make, different trades that they can make. And then on defense, they do have 6 defensemen. Of course, Broberg, he'll be signed for very cheap as well. I can't see him getting more than $1 million per $1.5 million, like max, at least on a 1-year deal. Again, with an RFA, you want to try and lock up some of these guys if you think they're going to be impact players in the future, as long as possible for as cheap as possible before they hit UFA status. So we'll see what they do with Philip Broberg. Of course, these are going to be bridge deals. Holloway's going to be a bridge deal. Broberg's going to be a bridge deal. Hopefully they keep the cap hit for both under $2 million. Holloway, like I said, played good in the playoffs, hasn't showed a whole lot in the regular season yet. And then same with Philip Broberg, hasn't showed a lot in the regular season, played admirably in the playoffs. Very happy with him, and I'm excited to see his growth. Third pair, Kulak, Ceci. I imagine Ceci's going to be gone. I think a new general manager or whoever's going to be in charge during the summer, they're probably going to move on from Cody Ceci. It was obvious that they did try to upgrade the right D position at the deadline. There were the rumors with Tanev. They did bring in Troy Stetcher. Obviously, there were some players that just weren't moving the needle. They ended up bringing Broberg in and playing him over Ceci in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think the organization understands that Cody Ceci's role is very, very limited, and the money that he makes, probably not worth keeping long-term here. And then when we look at goaltenders, you have Skinner and Campbell. Now, Jack Campbell, that's a buyout candidate if I've ever seen one. I actually do think they're going to buy out Jack Campbell. You're not going to be punished too harshly if you buy out a Jack Campbell. His buyout penalty is not bad at all. Now, when I look at the penalty here, I'll actually quickly show you guys on Cap Friendly. So I'm just going to move out of the way. If they were to buy him out this summer, they will save $3.9 million against the cap heading into next year. So if you take their current cap space of 10.03, that would go up to $13.9 million in space to spend. And then 25-26, savings of $2.7 million. And then 26-27, savings of $2.4 million. And then only a cap hit of $1.5 million for 3 years after that. Considering the salary cap's projection is going to be high, Jack Campbell, they can buy him out. This is not a buyout-proof contract. I do think that they are going to buy him out and give themselves a little bit more wiggle room to sign more players. Now, when it comes to actual free agent targets, that's going to be in another video. I just wanted to talk about the Oilers' depth chart, their situation, who I think is leaving the team, who I think is going to stay, and we'll go from there. If you ended up enjoying today's video, please like it and let me know all of your thoughts on the Oilers free agent situation down in the comment section below. Let's get a good dialogue started, and like I said, keep an eye out for the draft video that I have planned. I am working on it. It's going to be a pretty good draft video, and then I will be live streaming the draft Friday night as well. So thank you so much, Oil Country. I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate your feedback during the Stanley Cup playoffs, and off season starts now. Let's have some fun with it, and let's go Oilers.